GTFO is a cooperative player versus environment first person shooter. The game is currently in early access on Steam and only available on PC. It is a game based completely around cooperative gameplay. It instills some basic psychological theory to make playing the game feel rewarding and engaging, as well as encourages pro social learning. For this video, we will first talk about the background and mechanics of the game, then go into why these things tap into different learning aspects and psychological theory, and why these things make the game so compelling. The narrative premise of GTO is simple. Players are prisoners who are being sent into an underground facility by their warden to accomplish certain tasks. However, this facility has long since been abandoned, and it's clear that this was due to some horrifying event. Inside the facility are monsters, presumably mutants created from some former humans who worked in the facility, and players must encounter them. The game isn't heavy on story, but we can imply from the loading menu and character modeling that it seems to be that the characters are also injected with drugs and are having their cognitive and biological responses constantly measured. They wear gas masks and heavy body armor, presumably to help fight off some sort of toxins in the environment that they're heading into. GTFO is not a game that is focused on storytelling or lore building, but it much rather is focused almost wholly on aesthetics and gameplay. The premise of the gameplay is simple. Basically, there are different levels to the facility that you're being sent down into, which each level of the facility being an actual level of the game. You and your team, which can be 1 to 3 other people, though the developers stress that it is built with 4 person teams as the focus, are sent down into these different levels to accomplish certain objectives. For example, the first level is known as A1, with the objective being to recover a DNA sample that has been lost. After you complete A1, you unlock the B level that has 2 areas, B1 and B2. The game is structured around these levels. The structure is known as the rundown. The current rundown goes from levels A to D, with A and D both having 1 section and B and C having 2. The development team has noted that once the game releases in full, the rundown will have a timer and will change when that timer runs out. So all the levels and objectives will change. There will be new environments to explore, objectives to complete, loot to find, and enemies to face. But for now, there's only one rundown. Before dropping down into a level, players have the option to select some of their equipment. They get a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, a special tool, and a melee weapon. The guns are all straightforward, with shotguns, SMGs, assault rifles, and pistols and the like. What's more interesting are the specialty tools, which get more complicated. There's a bioscanner, which allows for players to see if there are living organisms in the immediate vicinity, a foam launcher which sprays sticky foam that can slow down enemies, and some gun turrets, a shotgun turret and a burst rifle turret to be more specific. These different tools allow for different ways to approach enemies and for different players to tailor their gameplay to the different levels and their different roles that they might on their team. When dropped into the game, players only start off with a minimal amount of resources, making it imperative to find more as you progress through the game. Health and ammo do not regenerate and requires you to find packages hidden in lockers and boxes around the map. Also, you can find other helpful tools in these boxes, such as flashlights, devices to get rid of fog, and even glow sticks that can light up rooms and that doesn't attract enemies. However, the item locations are randomly generated whenever a player loads into a level, making resource management unique to each playthrough. Once you enter a level and are given an objective, but there's not much direction on how to accomplish it. The map for the level only fills up as you explore, leaving you in the dark about how to get around. However, most of the rooms are sorted numerically and alphabetically, so once players have explored around a little, they can begin to piece together the layout of the level. In order to figure out the location and the objective, players must find a terminal, and when they do, they're able to interact with it, much like you would with a Linux interface or something of that nature. Here, you're able to figure out the location of your objective by its room and area marker, such as 19C, though you probably don't know where that is if you haven't explored around yet. You can also figure out how to ping locations of nearby resources. Remember that there's no directions for this game, so players have to figure out how to use these systems and mechanics on their own. The enemies of GTFO are your main obstacles to completing your objective. They're called sleepers, and are known as such because they remain still unless they hear players moving, or if a player shines a flashlight on them. When a player enters a room, they can crouch and begin to move around, but if any of these sleepers begin to light up and make noise, you need to stop moving. There are different types of sleepers with different abilities. There are big ones, small ones, and even scouts that send out little tentacles and attempt to feel out their surroundings. However, just like the resources, enemies also randomly spawn into the levels, making every time a player enters a room a new experience and a challenge. All of these elements play into how and why GTFO is a successful implementation of cooperative gameplay, which we can explain learning different psychological theories. In motivational psychology, there's a concept called self determination theory, which rests on the idea that humans have three basic principal needs that they hope to fulfill: autonomy, having control; competence, feeling good at doing something; and relatedness, having meaningful relationships or interactions with other people. Video games are uniquely capable at tapping into all three of these needs, and GTFO is particularly good at doing so. When we talk about autonomy, that's already a given with video games, as players are manipulating their avatars. However, GTFO also has the added benefit of taking a hands off approach to teaching players how to play the game. It forces players to learn the mechanics and the systems in it on their own. This creates a sense of autonomy as players get to oppose their own strategy to the game and create their own narratives for the experiences that they are creating. When we talk about competence, GTFO also excels. While some games focus on one or two core mechanics to really master, that can become frustrating to players who feel like they're no good at them. However, due to the cooperative aspects of GTFO, players can all have different roles and bring different skills to the challenge. You don't have to be good at shooting or be good at puzzle solving to make an impact and help your team. Everyone can play different roles, and that makes it a rewarding experience even for people who may not be good at certain aspects of the game. Additionally, with competence, it's also about learning how to become good at something. And because of GTFO's constantly evolving nature, with its randomly spawning resources and enemies, as well as the ever changing rundown, it encourages players to continuously come back to the game and to learn how to master it even further. Relatedness also speaks for itself, as the team focused gameplay forces players to coordinate and communicate with each other, and the failure to do so hurts the overall success of your run. If you die, your teammates can save you, but if all of your teammates die, that's when the game ends and you must start the level all over again. This also encourages pro-social learning. We know that cooperative gameplay instills pro-social ideals into players, even if they take place in violent contexts. This is especially true for cooperative games that are not competitive, such as GTFO. While GTFO has all the fast paced shooting and action of Call of Duty or Halo, it doesn't pit the players into fighting against each other. Rather, they're fighting with each other and against the enemies in the game, and are all working together to complete their objective and escape the level. GTFO is a unique cooperative experience, and one that is well conceived and polished, even for its early access stage. If you play on PC and have a group of friends who are willing to try, GTFO is a challenging but extremely fun and rewarding experience. Even if you don't have friends but want to try it out, the game has a Discord channel that is run by the development team that is solely dedicated to helping players find others to try the game. You can even try to solo some levels, like you've seen me do in some of these gameplay clips. If you're interested in the theories I discussed and why GTFO is able to draw in players so well, there are links to some of the papers in the descriptions of the video. I hope you enjoyed it.